And record. So I'm recording. So everybody watch your language. All right, I want to go over some things. Interestingly enough, something occurred to me, and I hadn't really given it a lot of thought, other than the fact that, oh, hold on, I got an echo. I was looking at a listing, I don't know, about a month or so ago, and I thought the audacity of these people, right? This listing agent offered $1,000 flat fee, and for, I don't know, it was like a $280,000 home. I'm like, I was a little taken aback, somewhat pissed actually. And then this one came up this morning, $1. There were actually several agents that had found this. It's on the chat. It's right there. I just said it 5 minutes ago. Alan Randall wants to join us. Go figure. So where was I? Oh, $1. So I'm like, oh, I'm fussing and fuming, and you know, I was thinking of what a lot of people were writing, like, this is against the rules, this is wrong, this is. So I called MLS, and MLS said, no, they have to offer something $1 or more. And I went, okay, there you go. So I actually called the listing agent for that property, and I was pretty calm, cool, and collected, and we just kind of laid it out there. It's like, what gives? And she let it be known. She says a lot of sellers. Well, this particular seller was taking the time to educate themselves, as a lot of people do now, educate themselves to the point of, danger, right? They're danger to themselves anyway. So that they were reading about about there's a class action suit. Now, I don't know how many of you are aware of this, but it came up and it has been brought up a couple of times on WhatsApp. So the class action suit, the way I understand it from the articles I read, it stemmed from a buyer who sold a rather large estate and then determined that he didn't think it was fair that the seller rather didn't think it was fair that the person who brought the buyer, he's getting paid out of the commission, and this guy is arguing against my price, right? That's what we do when we're a buyer agent. We got a buyer and we go to the seller, we go and we try to, bring that price down and negotiate for our buyers. And sellers, well, they try to make sure that negotiations are getting top dollar for the property. And as it stands, when you look at the way the words are, and especially when it comes into cooperation. Cooperation is when you take a listing, brokerage, you as an agent for the brokerage take a listing, you do it and you charge, the brokerage charges the seller a percentage commission. It's the broker that takes a piece of his commission or hers and offers it to a buyer broker on the MLS. It's the broker that's cooperating. And so when you think about it in those terms, none of this makes sense because the seller is paying commission to the listing broker, and then that broker is taking that commission and doling it out. Well, that's all the legalese, that's stuff that they got to argue and all of that. In the meantime, there are some things that are coming out that will be addressed, and that will be, as a buyer broker, we should never, and this is true anyway for us, we should never say our services are free. In fact, some of the changes we might see coming down is that if you've ever done an MLS synopsis for a customer synopsis, you'll note that when you do a customer synopsis or you see a listing on Zillow or any of those things, they don't include the percentages, they don't include the commission. And what we might be seeing now is going forward, that might become public knowledge. In this particular instance, the woman who posted it for $1 and is within is fine. She is actually compliant with MLS. In this particular instance, the expectation is that the buyer. I'm gonna have to turn the sound off of that. The expectation is that the buyer is going to have to pay the buyer's commission. So this particular listing agent who offered this property for $1 is expecting the buyer to pay the commission to the buyer's agent. Any questions so far?
Yes, so where do we stand going forward?
Well, right now, these are some things that we have to prepare for, and that I want to, I've got some notes here. I want to make sure I'm covering all the things that I wanted to touch on here. So it could become that more and more the expectation of the seller is that the buyers pay their own buyer brokers the commission. There's lots of information online to the NAR class action. A lot of speculation as to how it will turn out. Apparently they fought this before, and the expectation is that not much will really change except for the publication of the full commission for buyers and sellers. Now, here's the thing. And there was a comment in a conversation this morning that this is going to be similar to a for sale by owner, which isn't really the case, because in a for sale by owner, the seller is expecting not to pay any commission to anybody. And if you have a potential buyer, then you can negotiate a commission and then bring the buyer, and you get paid from the seller. In this particular instance, whatever deal she made, whether it was a flat fee and then putting it on the MLS for $1, you will have to negotiate your own commission. I have in the past had a loyal enough customer on an instance with a for sale by owner that was willing to pay me my commission. And so it wasn't really against anything. But this is something that I kind of wanted to bring up. So I'm going to share some things I think that will be helpful as we go forward. We're in a seller's market, which means that sellers are getting more and more brave. They're asking for higher and higher prices. Matter of fact, Christina and I just had a conversation this morning about appraisers not being able to keep up with the valuation of homes. I've lost 2 bids over the last month and a half on homes where people bid tens of thousands of dollars over the asking price, cash, no appraisal contingency. Well, what does that do to the value of homes across the board? Because the value of homes is based on the market. It's what people are willing to pay. Appraisers only appraise value for the bank. They have to figure out some way mathematically and logically to provide a loan to value ratio for a loan. But other than that, the market bears what the market bears. Keeping in mind all of this, that this will tend to swing the other way eventually. But for right now, we need to be prepared for these things. I'm talking with a lot of agents lately who want to go after listings. And if you're going to go after listings, you have to be prepared. So how is this going to impact you? Well, going forward, when they make it official, you're not going to be able, on one side or the other, ever, as a buyer, whatever, you're not be able to say your services are free. The seller pays my commission. Well, that's what they're arguing against. You just have to disclose where all the money is coming from and where it's going. So let me do this. I want to share. Let me see, pop this open. I think this is the one here. All right. So this is, I was doing some research this morning on the NAR. There's plenty of stuff. If you want to Google NAR class action lawsuit. You want to Google that. There's plenty of information. Matter of fact, you can go to the NAR website and they kind of give you an overview. I think it's pretty light though from what they give you, but I can understand their point of view. But what I really wanted to touch on was this company's come up recently. So Hauser's come up. What they're doing is they're doing flat fee, right? So if you got somebody with a $400,000 or $500,000 house or more for a flat fee of $5,000, even put it here, $5,000 plus 2.5% commission, they'll list your house. So as we're going after listings, these are some of the things we have to think about when we're going, in for competition. And now what we might end up seeing is, $5,000 or less, some reasonable amount, and $1 for the seller. The buyer has to pay their own broker. All right. So just keep that in mind. So going forward, can all of you see this? I've got a dot loop form up here, right? Can everybody, Grace, can you see this, the dot loop form?
Right. Yeah.
Cool. All right, because I'm sharing the one window. I think everything in the window should convey. So this is this is how we're going to be able to handle this going forward. We're going to have to educate our buyers. We build the commission if this comes up in the near future. If you had a buyer that wanted to buy that house, absolutely wanted that house for $1, what are you going to do? Well, you're going to have to go to your buyer and say, look, what we're going to have to do is negotiate the price based on this, and this is going to be my commission. We may end up having to use this exclusive buyer brokerage agreement more often going forward. When you do a buyer loop template, this is already in there by default. Now, I left it in there. I've used it sometimes, but not all the time, because I've had loyal buyers, but I've also had buyers I thought were loyal and ended up buying through another broker. But in this particular instance, basically, when you fill this out, and generally, it's between them and you as an agent for Ameriteam Realty. You put in your terms. Usually, if you're house hunting, it's going to be 3 months or less. Property type, usually residential. Location, Florida, because you can help find or buy a home anywhere in Florida. Price range can be anywhere from 0 to $500,000 or $1 million. You just be a little smart about it. Make a nice wide range. The rest is self-explanatory. But where it comes down here, I've explained this to some people. Sometimes you have a client who might drag you all over the place, and they don't really seem committed. In this particular instance, I've had agents use this where they put in a retainer here on this line 6, and in the retainer they can ask for $595 retainer, and that will be refunded upon purchase. But basically, when you purchase the home, $595, I'm paying the broker fee for you. There you go, right? And then down here in section 7, this is where you would lay out your competition. So you're saying, I'm going to help you buy a house, and I want to ensure I'm going to get my fill in the blank 2, 2.5, 3, however you negotiate. But going forward, you may have to prepare to use this to negotiate with your buyer. What this will mean is, as you do this, if you go into a home that's only paying 2%, the buyer would be responsible for making up that extra 1%. That's if you hold it to them. Not necessarily. In this particular instance, with buyer brokerage agreement, you're getting the buyer to agree to pay you, whether it's 2, 2.5, or 3, whatever you negotiate. In the instance where something else, the seller's not offering that commission payout. So this is going to be one of your tools in your tool chest. Keep in mind, right? Some of these things, keeping in mind, these are the very basics that you have to maintain when you're talking about operating as an agent with your transaction broker, with your client. One of the other ones I want to make you privy to is this is between seller and buyer. So in the case of a for sale by owner, this commission agreement you can find on Florida Interactive, where if you were working for the for sale by owner and you said, look, would you be willing to pay me X amount of dollars if I have a buyer for your home, and you want to show your home to the buyer, then you can actually have them sign a commission agreement without a full listing agreement. And this way, if you happen to bring a buyer, it shows here their name, the seller or landlord, your name, agent for Maritime Realty, sell, the property address, and then the prospect. So you might, if you have a real buyer, put the name in here. And then of course in here is if it's sold or any other prospect. So if it doesn't work out for that prospect, but you end up bringing another one a couple of weeks later, this one still covers you within 180 days of the signature of the contract. And then you would put in your purchase price here, right? 3% or 2.5% or whatever you negotiate. Very simple, one-page form. I also encourage that if you're going to do this with a for sale by owner, you can do a non-brokerage agreement. That just makes it even a little bit more clear for them and a little bit more comfortable. It's like you are not signing a contract to list. If you happen to find a buyer with somewhere else, and I'm not even part of the deal. So these are a couple of the tools that you want to pay attention to. And then this here. So let's say you have the agreement in place and you're going ahead and you're writing up the offer with this kiltered agreement. The section 9 in your as-is contract specifies who's paying what. So in this particular instance, you may have the $5.95 broker's fee, which you would put in here. This was an old file. $5.95 broker's fee, plus whatever you negotiated and have in writing, plus 2.5% of purchase price. In a for sale by owner situation, if you're working with a FSBO, for sale by owner, and you've got a commission agreement and you end up writing an offer, you would put this here, this 2.5% or whatever you agreed upon, you would put this here in the contract. Boom. That's a cost paid by seller. That's a pre-agreed instance. So now you're not going to have to do this today or tomorrow, but like I said, if you had a buyer interested in this particular piece of property where the seller is only, or the cooperating broker, it's not even the seller, the broker is only offering $1, then you would have to have the conversation with your buyer about how you were going to get compensated. So let's talk.
This is crazy.
What's that?
I think that's crazy. Then we have to negotiate for ourselves, where that should have been already done.
Well, here's the thing, right? So commission, people will argue that, oh, commission's built in the price of the house. No, I've never seen an appraisal that ever came in and said, this is the value of the house plus commission. It's never. The value of the house is the value of the house, and the value of the realtor is the value of the realtor. And I wanted to touch on a couple of things. We're a Gold Key certified agency, which means that we ask all of our agents at one point or another to get their Gold Key certification. There's a couple of things in here I just want to point out. First of all, there's the value proposition of the agent. Talks about what the dangers of poor agents do to our industry. But at the back of this, and I don't know if they've given out, Carmen, you've taken the course recently, the Gold Key. You didn't get the book per se, but you got downloadable material, right?
Correct.
Right. So as part of that downloadable material, you get this. In the back of my book is the critical role of the realtor in real estate. And basically it's 100 and how many things? 200. So yeah, the 2 pages, 227 things that a licensed realtor can do for you. What I'm finding a lot of realtors are doing now, they want to offer discounts. They do a la carte. So you know, if you get a listing and they want to pay you, they don't want to pay anything. It's great. You know what? We're going to put a sign in the front yard. And we're going to post it on the MLS. Oh, you want more service than that? Well, you know what? These are our charges, and we do grades. In my class, the ones that have completed it, I talk about commission. I talk about explaining the value of commission and what it's all about, marketing and all of that. But you're going to come across those people who are like, you know what? If you want me to list it with you, this is how I'm going to do it. I'm not going to do it any other way. So in that particular instance, for me, I would say no, because I'm just going to piss off too many people. I would rather do it. I would rather go to somebody and say, I would rather you do this as a for sale by owner, and then let me do some open houses for you and those things, and we'll manage it that way, as opposed to this.
This kind of flips things around though, because if we, in this case of the $1 commission, then you're saying we have to ask for our commission from the buyer, where normally all commissions are coming from the seller.
Right. Exactly. So what you end up having to do is saying, look, this is what we're going to, you know, this is how, and I've done this. I had to do this. So I had a home. They were in a purchase with right to, it was a lease with right to purchase agreement, but some other third party had really, you know, I don't know. It was a bad situation. And I just kind of made it part of the, you know, par for the course. It's like, okay, this is for sale by owner. Would treat it the same way in this particular instance and say, look, as the buyer, you'll be responsible to pay the two. I think I charged them 2.5%, just for doing the paperwork, because you know they were already living in the house. I didn't have to like drive around for weeks looking at all kinds of homes and stuff. And so for just doing the paperwork, I got 2%. And, you know, in that particular instance, we had to argue. I didn't even have to argue. They were just loyal enough. And we built it into the offer. So, for instance, I do this. Oh, a lot of times we can offer, like for someone might ask for, you might have somebody who's a little cash poor, and you might ask for 3% toward closing costs and prepaids. You can do that with a buyer and say, look, you can offer that, and what we would do is if the seller didn't want to pay that 3%, a lot of times you could offer 3% over the value of the house with a kickback of the 3%. You could work it the same way. I'm going to do this for 2.5. I'm going to do this for 3%. You offer 3% over the value of the house, but the 3% commission paid by the seller goes to paid by the seller. In this particular instance, you want it to come back from the seller to you, and you have the conversation with the listing agent. Look, I get it. It's $1. All right. But we're going to offer this amount. So in a $250,000 house, you're looking at, so $250,000 house, let's say, divide by, you want 3%. So divide by 0.97. So you would offer 257,731, or just 257,7, just rough it out. But you would ask for that difference back. Basically, in that particular instance, as long as it didn't, you know, kill the loan to value ratio, you're looking at, you know, getting that $7,000 back.
But are most buyers agreeable to that? I wouldn't have been.
Yeah, you have to have the conversation. So, right. So basically what's going to happen in the market going forward is that if buyers want to work with a real estate agent to help them through these things, there's going to be a fee. That's just the way it's going to be. And it won't be, you know, it won't be, you know, okay, I'm not going to work with you. I'm going to work with this other agent that's not going to charge me a fee. If all of this goes through and it happens, everybody's going to be charging a fee. So the difference will be, well, this broker's only going to charge me 2%, you're charging me 3%. So we have to be competitive when we're talking about what we're going to get as agents. Now, you're not going to have this conversation tomorrow, and things will develop. And until, we can put together some verbal, put more thought into, how to verbally address this with a buyer, make them feel really happy about it. We'll work on that. We'll work on some better scripts. But if you have a buyer that's really hooked on you, and you've shown them your value as an agent, and they're happy to pay you the 2% for all the due diligence and work you're doing pretty good. And I will tell you that not all, but most of the buyers that I've had the good pleasure of working with have appreciated me that much, where, they'd be happy to pay me the 2% if I can't get it from the other place. That's really going to be on us. We have to build that rapport anyway. And in essence, as agents, we can never say that our services are free, because we charge the $5.95 unless we negotiate that, down and out too. But we could certainly make that part of the negotiations. Look, I'm going to charge you 2.5%, but I'm going to cover the $5.95 broker's fee. So there's no additional fees. It's just this, for putting the paperwork, for the transaction management, for making sure that when it comes time to close, that you're good. This also, you have to have that conversation. So in the future, you may find that you'll have to negotiate your commission with your buyer.
And is that just for Florida, or will that be?
Oh, no, national. This is everywhere. This is everywhere.
And in the meantime, what I think is it'll probably take a whole lot longer for those properties to sell rather than the others that prefer to pay the commission. So a seller, if you have a buyer and you tell them, you got these 3 options you like. For this one, you got to pay 2% to me, or you got to pay commission, and then those, you don't worry about it. They are 100% not going to want to go with them. They have to pay $4,000, $5,000, $6,000, $7,000. So sellers are going to have a really hard time selling.
The only issue, Federico, I agree with that. I think that's an excellent point. If you present it that way, look, I have these 3 properties here, but on this one, you have to pay me the commission instead of the seller. They'll say, well, that might be a very good deciding factor.
Even if you have to negotiate it for a lower percentage, it's still for the buyer,
Well, and here's the thing, right? So this isn't going to be forever. The issue right now is this is such a seller's market, and sellers are even getting ballsy and doing this. This is the first time I've seen this. And this woman I talked to on the phone in the car, she was, humble. I didn't ask her why she took it. I was, I'm sure she got her own compensation for doing the listing and whatever.
Alan, go ahead. I'm sorry. I'd like
Go
to.
ahead. Go ahead,
I'd like to comment. I think agents can have some influence on this as well when you go on a listing appointment, because if you point out to a seller that if you are not willing to pay commissions to a buyer's agents, buyers are going to be unwilling to, and buyers are going to be unwilling to come to buy your properties, then, sellers will be more likely to pay a commission. So I think listing agents can have an influence on whether sellers are become willing to pay a commission. And if sellers play hardball and they continue to reduce commissions, or in the future stop paying commissions, I think the effect will be that buyers will stop buying, and then sellers will have no option but to start paying, and it'll become a buyer's market, as we discussed earlier today.
Yep.
So, but I do think that listing agents can have an influence on their sellers by pointing out that the reason that we're able to bring you buyers is because you're paying a commission. So,
Exactly.
Agents do influence the market.
Yeah. So I don't want this to be, this isn't meant to be like a panic. Oh my God, we got to change the way we're doing business. However, you know what? it was something that came up on the WhatsApp and everybody's looking at it going, holy shit, what do I do? Well, you know what? We're having the conversations now so that if it does come to anything close to that, oh, well, I know how to handle this. This is what, this is what I think, this is what we discussed, and then it's nothing new is cold cocking us. We want to just stay in front of this, and it won't be forever. And basically what this particular agent took it, some agents are desperate. And look, how many of you're going to see it more and more. There are agents out there that are doing 2.5%, 2% minus $250 because they don't want to pay their own broker's fees. And it's getting stupid. I'm telling you. And it won't last forever. It's not going to. Okay. So we covered that. Also, any other questions regarding this? Federico, that was really, I appreciated that input because when you are laying it out like that for a client, you're showing them, they show you a list of homes and they go, what about this one? I kind of like this one more than those others. And you lay it out like, well, this one, in this particular instance, they're asking the buyer to pay the commission. Oh, really?
Yeah, that wouldn't be too much.
Yeah, it opens up a great conversation. Well, basically, they're asking you to pay the commission for
Yes.
what normally they would pay. Oh, okay. So,
And also, like Alan said, when you're having a conversation with a seller and you're gonna get that listing, you always talk about the commission, and they want to sell the property as soon as they can. So that's when you tell them how much you're willing to pay the other broker, 2.5 or 3. Now, if they tell you they don't want to pay anything, well, you just got to warn them. It's going to take a really long time to sell. So you better have time to wait.
There'll be a lot of inventory then.
Yes. And also with the competition right now, I mean, it's just, I don't see how it would work for the seller in the long run. They would just take really long time to sell.
so that's a good point. Let me just pull this.
Right, because I'm not going to take people to those houses.
No, but I mean, that's a point that, yeah, you can say maybe I'm not going to show it, but I've had with a lot of my buyers, they not only do I give them the listings that they're interested in, they also look for the listing themselves. They find it on Zillow. They tell me, hey, I found this property. Can we go see it? And maybe you see that it's, 2%
Right.
commission. You still have to show it.
Yeah.
But if it's a $1 commission, then you would definitely have to, show it and just tell them, this is how this seller is working. You would have to pay for this part. So on top of that price you're buying at, add 2% to your offer. And that's how much it's going to cost you.
Exactly. One of the things, I'm just sharing this real quick. I teach this in the class. Some of you have seen this already. This is when we're having a listing engagement, we're talking to somebody about their commission. We talk to them. It's an investment. It's their marketing dollars. Your house is your product. You're going to put it on the shelf with a whole bunch of other houses, and you've got to put some bright labels on. You're going to make it marketable. Well, that money you're paying is commission. Too many people think that the commission is going right into our pockets. And so when I educate somebody on a listing and they're going, ooh, well, I really only want to pay 2%. Well, I actually had a customer do that to me. She said, I don't want to pay more than 4. And that was 2 and 2. I'm like, I wouldn't do that to you. And she looked at me like funny, like, what do you mean you wouldn't do that to me? And I explained to her what the money was for and how it was doled out. And that, it doesn't all go into my pocket. This goes into cost of sale, and it goes into marketing. It goes into all the tools we use and pay for, our licensing, our educations. It supports a whole bunch of things that make us and give us the expertise we need to make sure nothing goes wrong and they get closed on their house. And then we get into the marketing aspect here, so that when somebody is looking at, you've got a buyer's agent looking at homes, we're not supposed to do that, but you know what? Basically, the lower end one gets pushed to the bottom of the pile, and I'm gonna, I want the most money for my effort. So there is an incentive. So you're incentivizing the sale of your house, and you're understanding that when you pay me a commission, I split that, and I put it out there for money for other people to bring buyers. That's what it's all about. So we've got a growing number of agents who are not educating their sellers. They just want the listings. Give me the listing. I'll do anything for the listing, which is why I brought up Hauser, because Hauser is one of those companies that are doing it for a flat fee. So, you know, up above, you know, 250,000, you're doing okay. If you're just paying $500 in a flat fee, and a little bit of money on commission for the buyer's side, people are going to want to save a lot more money. Just go for sale by owner if you're going to save that much money. You know, just do it. It's okay to say no. It's okay to say no to a customer, and say, yeah, I can't do that for you. They'll find somebody who will, but I always tell them you get what you pay for, and you know, that's really what it comes down to. Thank you. All right. Anything else? All right, so there might be more meetings on this. If you happen to come across something like this, don't hesitate to call us in the office, have a conversation, and you know, share your experiences, as well as, you know, if you come up with any good ideas on
Alan,
your own approach, that'd be valued. Yes.
Alan, just as an aside, with my British clients, they pay for buyer's agents. Like the buyer pays for buyer's agents in the UK. And when I say to them, you don't, the seller will be paying for my commission, they're quite surprised. They think that I'm working for the seller then. So it's a case of educating them about how UK works and how US works.
Yeah, well, as a matter of fact, one of the articles I read recently had something to do with we're the only ones apparently in the United States. Most of the rest of the world, they do it all.
Yeah, most of the rest of the world does it the way they want to do it.
Right, exactly.
So hey ho.
It's not a bad look. This isn't horrible. It's not, oh my God, you know, it just changes the way we got to do things. We need to adapt.
Yeah.
We need to adapt. And we need to, and you know, in essence, this might be good because there are a lot of agents out there that are, they're really, I was rereading my excellence book. These are the worst agents, the top two worst categories for agents, according to a study by NAR. Masses of marginal agents destroying the industry's reputation. The industry is saddled with a large number of part-time, untrained, unethical, and incompetent agents. And believe me, the more deals you do, you're going to see a lot of this. You're going to look at people like, how the hell did you get your license? The knowledge gap threatens the industry. So you know what? Something like this will weed out the bottom feeders, because they're not going to be able to justify themselves, have their own buyers pay them. They're not going to be able to do it. A good agent who knows their craft and has honed it and has a good reputation and good skills with people, you're going to make it work. You can make this work. Don't worry about it. The other thing that we have to battle, this was the number 2, which we are battling now, the decline in the relevancy of the agent's role. Too many agents going, okay, I got it, and they sit back. You know, any good agent I've ever talked to has come to me all stressed out because, you know, they're so involved with the transaction, making sure that the timelines are being met. I have conversations all the time with like, oh, their deal's right about to fall apart. How do we hold it together? Well, you know what? If you're a marginal agent, your deal's going to fall apart and you're not going to closing. If you're a good agent, and you have good support, like me and Alan, right, Alan? Then you're more apt to be able to negotiate, problem solve, and push it and get it through. And there's your value. And that's the value we have to push. It's like, look, you know what? This isn't just filling out some forms and filing it through. There's some things crop up, and you got to be there for your people. That's it. And of course, you know, the more reviews you can get, when you get happy customers, you get good reviews. Get them up on Google. Get yourself up there so that people can see. Yeah, you know what? They are valued agents. So this could end up weeding out a lot of the ones that are, you know, just driving the rest of us crazy. So that's not necessarily a bad thing either. We'll adapt, and as Alan Randall says on a regular basis, you know, it's always about opportunity. This is just a new opportunity somewhere. So, oh, you're good. So, I think, I mean, that covers most of what I wanted to talk about in dealing with relevancy and dealing with the changing territory. Be aware too, it was interesting in this conversation I had with the woman. She brought up Zillow, and because apparently she's a listing agent, and apparently Zillow, of course, I don't know if you all know now, but Zillow is an official brokerage, and they're getting licensed in all 50 states, right? I don't know where they are in Florida yet. I think they are, but they're calling people left and right to list their homes. She made the comment. She says, "You know what?" She says she had a conversation with somebody. She says, "I almost listed with them just to get them to shut up. They're being that tenacious." And so, you know what? All I'm saying is, you see an opportunity, go after it. I preach it all the time. I learned it here. Work until you're fired. Be tenacious. Go after it. You're valuable. You guys, you know, everybody here in this meeting, you showed up. It puts you head and shoulders above the rest. And of course, you know, for the few people who will watch this video because they're doing closings or they're actually doing business, that's good too. So anyway, I am going to post this video. It'll be up on YouTube. I'll put the whole link out. And we'll probably have more of these. Anyone who runs into anything like this, give me a call. I want the feedback. I want to keep on top of this. And your input, like what you just shared with us, Federico, is incredibly valuable because I don't have all the answers.
Well, I think though this would be highly desirable to sellers, especially in this market we're in. A lot of people don't, you know, want to list their houses right now. And it's like, well, if you're only going to pay 2% because you're paying to your agent, and then whoever buys it has to pay their percentage, then
So here's
that's a win for the listing agent. I mean, for the lister.
So this is something I've been trying trial and error, right? I'll share this with you. I'll get you all here, and I'll keep the record on. I actually have been cold calling neighborhoods because I have a buyer who wants to buy it. Every time a house pops up they like it, you know, people flock to it like piranha on an animal. And you know, next thing you know, you're competing with a dozen or 2 dozen offers on one piece of property. It's gone. So I'm cold calling people saying, look, a house just sold in your neighborhood. If you've ever thought about selling it, now might be the time to consider. And I have a buyer. All I need to do is qualify your house. You don't even need to list it. No open houses. You don't have to have people trucking through your homes, anything like that. If you meet with me and I can qualify your home, and this is the truth, I'm not even making this up, then I have somebody who will buy your house today. You don't even have to put it on the market. And if you're going to do that, you're going to get both sides. You could do it at a reduced price. I'll do the whole thing for 4%. Because if you only got half of a 6% deal or half of a 5% deal, you're only looking at 2.5 to 3%. But you'll do the whole thing for 4, not 6, not 5. I'll do it for 4%. And then just lay it out. Put the paperwork together, make it happen. So now I did this. I went, the house didn't qualify. My buyer is looking for a pool in the backyard, but they want to list their house anyway. So not only did I get a listing out of it, but when they do sell that house and another property down in Miami, which I'm not part of, they want us to help them buy a home, you know, in Claremont. I'm like, okay, next. So that campaign is working, and you'll hear more about that because we're going to put together a telephone outreach campaign right here in the office with telephones and everything. So stay tuned for that one. So be tenacious and yeah, go for it.
Alan, my offer's been accepted. Woo-hoo!
Yay! All right.
Congratulations.
All right. Transaction management, get that escrow in there.
I'm off. Bye.
All right.
Yeah,
Everybody,
out.
thank you. No, thank you all for coming on, and I appreciate it. And any other insight, anything else you want to share, please reach out to me. Let me know.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you, Alan. Bye-bye.
Bye.